Hi Tariq, so what happened in court today?
What happened in court today, it was a very short hearing in a cramped court. We were like sardines packed in. They should have made a bigger court available given the interest in the case, but the one positive thing is that the magistrate, the chief magistrate, realized that this was going to be a huge case and changed her position from trying to limit the trial to accepting that it might take 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, so we saw a very big difference from the magistrate. Previously she had been very much about keeping the court case, the hearing in February, to 5 days, with the preliminary portion, the preliminary pre-trial part being about whether the case should even go ahead based on the fact that the extradition treaty doesn't allow for extradition of a political nature, all of which the 18 charges are both in frame and in essence.
And the point really has to be made that Julian shouldn't be in prison at all.
Yes.
And even if they were going to lock him up, which is wrong on every ground, moral ground, legal grounds, he should have been in an open prison, allowed access to friends, family, journalists, which they sometimes permit, and certainly to his lawyers. Limiting access to his legal team is just unacceptable.
At today's hearing, she extended it to making it very obvious that it would probably be as much as 4 weeks. It's a very good sign, because it means that at magistrates level we're now seeing a difference in that she understands this case is mammoth, the breadth of it. She had been issued with summaries of the various legal issues which would be dealt with, and they are all big, important issues.
The negative side is this, that seeing Julian for the first time since I last saw him before he was taken into prison, just before he was moved to prison, is a sad sight. He seems listless, he's not looking good, resigned, and for someone who is very invigorating and a fighter, it's a sad sight to see.
You have to remember that being in prison is not easy. Julian went into prison after having spent 7 years in de facto detention, and especially the last year at the embassy was particularly sadistic in that there was a complete lockdown on all sorts of communication. The cell phones were cut, there were jammers, he had no internet. He went into prison in a much worse state than you or I would have, so it's natural that there'd be deterioration.
Anyone who reads the newspapers or hears Trump or government officials speaking can deny that this is actually political victimization of a journalist for exposing war crimes, which are still being committed in some countries.
The lawyers have had a very difficult time getting access to him in advance of, and they mentioned that in court today. The judge is aware of it. They had previously in a call-over hearing, which is where he's brought in front of the court every 28 days, which is just a procedural thing. They had pointed out that although they'd spent a long time trying to get him access to a computer, they eventually got him access to a computer, but it wasn't a computer that he could actually review the evidence. Now there's a huge amount of evidence that needs to be reviewed, and Julian would want to have his own input in that. You know, to see what is piling up against you is a natural thing that everybody would want to be able to see.
I would strongly urge Amnesty International to make Julian a prisoner of conscience. I mean, it is quite shocking to me that Amnesty International hasn't taken up this case. It's an obvious case of political victimization, and they are not bound by any legalities. They can see what's going on. And we hope also that increasingly organizations that favor freedom of information, freedom of the press, legal rights, the right to free expression, the First Amendment in the Constitution of the United States, which the attempt to extradite Julian defies, come to their senses and see what's going on.